So just to break the ice, I would like, to ask you, where are you working nowadays? We will start with Mario. Where are you mostly working from these days? Converting 2009 into, and do you find it challenging at the present time for you, or it's an age of opportunity?
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much, Danilo. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and Victor and Asaf, sharing my thoughts. Now, we to be honest, the 2020 was not the easy year for us. We have some projects postponed. Now the 2021 is much better, because we are now submitting the postponed projects, and we have ongoing a lot of another projects, and so I'm a little bit concerned with the future, especially in this stage that I'm concerned about the 2022 and 2023, because I think architecture are not in the bubble. Sometimes we think that architecture are in the art and design bubble. We are not. We are deeply involved with the global economy, and I see the global economy in a very tricky situation. So I'm a little bit concerned, but I hope we have a good, we can solve.
So you can see this still as an opportunity, but of course the tough time is challenging. Of course, this is for everybody. Okay, I mean, there is no one single activity that can benefit of a bubble at the moment. Victor, you've moved recently from Dubai to Prague. Did you move for this reason? Did you move because you were seeing some more opportunities?
We have a big project under construction here in Prague, and obviously at the beginning of the pandemic, the travel was impossible. We could only travel one way out of Dubai and not come back. And during construction, as you know, you have to be on site as much as possible. So I've decided to set up an office here and move myself over here for the time being. And now I'm traveling to Dubai whenever needed, but we're getting more and more work here in Prague, so that's quite encouraging. But I mean, yeah, the pandemic has obviously affected everyone. So, the supply chains are a little bit more complex. Meeting suppliers is impossible. Meeting manufacturers is very, very, very difficult. Meeting new clients around the world is difficult as well. So we're kind of, I would say, at the moment, focused on locations that I'd say we're more established in, and we're not discovering new markets that we used to do quite dynamically before. But listen, I mean, it is challenging, but I'd say it's at least here in this location, it's still quite dynamic and upbeat, because there's a lot of lack of everything, especially on the residential market, and the market here is booming. So, but there's a lot of restrictions. Even in construction, we have a lot of delays now. There's a limited amount of people that can go to the construction site daily. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but hopefully it'll get better soon.
So it's tough, but you can see opportunities then for the future, for the present and for the future.
Yeah, we're getting inquiries even now. We're trying to negotiate some new projects, but I mean, overseas at the moment is impossible.
Right. Asaf, what is your opinion and your experience there? I mean, you are in Israel, but you also work in Paris. So you have, again, this double presence that can give us a little bit of more international view on your expectations.
Actually, my focus at the moment has been on a large project in Italy that we're doing on Lake Como. And like my colleagues, we're seeing a slowdown, loss in a sense of time. Things take much longer, harder to get things going, especially with municipalities and public sector. So it's a challenging, but I think on the upside is that architecture fundamentally benefits from change. and we're in a moment of change. The whole issue of the individual, the space he's in, the way they want to live, the introduction of Zoom and of the virtual domain. All these things are going to have an impact, and this impact ultimately will enrich our projects, will raise interesting questions. I think it's a fast forward of a few years. Things that we thought might take 10 will take 2. So I'm optimistic about the future. I think it's going to be challenging, but it's always challenging in architecture. So it's an interesting time.
But does it mean, I will continue with you. So does it mean that your approach to the residential architecture project has changed in the past years? When we say that it's more challenging, I mean, architecture is always challenging. So it's try to move the boundaries of what is possible, what is not possible a little bit further. But did this pandemic bring change in the past year? And can you give some example, or if this is true?
I think perhaps the way to look at it is rather from a global perspective, more on the issue of the individual. If I take myself, for example, I'm renovating my home after 25 years. The kids are out, there's LED lighting, lots of things have changed, and among it is how much time you spend at home, the way you want to spend it, where do you want to be, do you work more from home than before? These things are obviously happening now and at a faster pace. But I think it's a part of, among the changes which are typical between migration of population from rural to urban, and perhaps now from urban to rural, aging population, size of residential units. It's a part of one more factor in a whole set of factors, which is constantly transforming what we do.
But do you think that this has accelerated some process?
Absolutely.
So Mario, do you agree with this viewpoint? And do you see also some changes in your country from that viewpoint on residential architecture in the past few years?
Yes, I have been receiving more and more clients trying to move from apartment blocks to single houses. Clients trying to get more space, more green areas to live, to improve their everyday routine. I see as well developers trying to have more communal areas in the residential buildings, in the residential blocks, trying to invest in green spaces, green roofs, gyms, swimming pools. Yes, recently I see that. Yes.
Do you see? I mean, what you are describing? Do you think that it's something that is related to the need of this social distancing, or something that was a trend already existing before?
I think a little both. I think that is both. I think to include green areas in the buildings are very trendy now. And sometimes that is very well done. And I see that other cases and developers want that just to tick the box, just to have it. So I think we have both situations.
So we can say that again, as Asaf also underlined, that this has been accelerated by this global pandemic situation.
Yes.
And Victor, what is your opinion about that, particularly when you come from an environment where green is a bit tough to achieve?
Listen, Dubai, I would say Dubai is a completely different story, because Dubai, as you know yourself, because you come quite often, has lots of space and people can really spread out. And, you know, a typical standard apartment unit in Dubai is probably twice the size of a typical apartment unit in Europe. So I don't think Dubai is a good starting point for that. But I do think people have become more aware that they really want their living environment to be comfortable, most of all. And that asks for bigger spaces. They want to be able to entertain at home and invite friends and family over, which I think, you know, wasn't always at the forefront of thinking when you were purchasing an apartment, that, you know, you wanted to consider if you're going to have enough space to entertain your friends, if you're going to have enough space to work, if you're going to have enough space to, I don't know, switch off and meditate or anything like that. So I think these are all aspects that are really becoming important for everyone. And I do see existing clients coming back to us and, you know, in some cases revisiting certain projects where they're saying, you know, let's, you know, now I'm spending much more time at home with my family, with my office. Let's redo certain things. And I think, you know, it's our responsibility as architects, but also these messages have to be conveyed back to the developers, you know, if they're willing to you know, transform that product that they're offering and offer larger units, offer more comfortable spaces, offer, you know, higher quality construction without necessarily increasing the price. So that's something that's going to be quite tricky in the coming years to see how that evolves.
And at the same time, of course, also lowering the impact of the construction industry on the environment, which is also a very important topic. How do you work in your project regarding this aspect? How do you approach the sustainability in your projects?
Is that on me, Danilo?
Yes, on you, yes. We'll continue, so we make it organic, then I will,
sure.
Of course.
Well, you know, sustainability is at the core of our practice. So whatever we do, be it architecture, be it interior design or product design, I think that's one of the main aspects we always look at from the start. The environment, the weather, the location. During the initial design stages, those are factors that really drive our design, I would say. In terms of, you know, further aspects like interiors and fit out and construction, we really strive and work with suppliers and companies that have the same philosophy and put same importance on these aspects. So, you know, you've come to our office and our studio in Dubai where, you know, we've really tried to also implement these philosophies onto our, you know, how we present ourselves to the client and the community, and you know, using companies that recycle a lot, using recycled materials, using companies that whatever they take from the nature, they also give back, working with a lot of natural materials as much as we can, so that, you know, don't age, don't really need to be replaced anytime soon. But I think those are all important aspects, and the moment they're addressed, I think also the human feels more comfortable in spaces like these because they function better than anything else. So it's really it's vice versa, you know. The more thought we give into that, the more we give back, and the more one can experience it in a more positive way, I think.
Of course. And as of do you think that the industry, of course, I repeat the question on you, what is, of course, the how do you work in that aspect, but also do you find that the construction industry it's receptive to these needs of the people to have a more sustainable approach?
I think there's still a long way to go. I think there's some elements that are economy driven. Let's say issues to do with insulation, solar control, heat discharge, and control. These elements are there. The issue of natural recyclable materials, I think we still have a way to go. And I think, you know, there's no way escaping it. Architecture leaves a footprint. It leaves a footprint, and it's, you know, it's a challenge, especially when you think about places where you don't necessarily have growing population, like in Western Europe or in Europe generally. the justification for new construction. How do you adapt? These are. I think there's still a long way to go. We still have a way beyond the statement that all of us obviously are. It leaves a footprint. Sensitive to the environment and wish to protect the environment. But when we do a building in the countryside that needs to have media and plumbing and electricity, and just for one house or several houses in comparison with a city where the infrastructure is already there, it's obvious that you're leaving a footprint. So there is this dilemma that when you're going out to get a better quality of life and a more green way of living, you're actually stressing on the side of the environment, the situation. So there's still a long way to go.
Yes, the risk also is that this is to some extent maybe perceived as a trend, as not really as a necessity, a requirement of our planet. So Mario, what is your opinion? What is the situation in Portugal? Of course, when we speak about Southern European country, it's even hardest or higher challenge for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I completely agree with Asaf. We saw that problem here in Portugal. We have a revolution in the mid 70s, and after that, the government gave permission to build a house. Everywhere you have a piece of land, and that was a big problem. That caused a big problem. That we lost planning. So houses became spreaded by everywhere, and the community spent a lot of money to make all the services get reach every house, which is spread, like electricity or water supply, sewage, and because houses are spread, you spend much more money to circulate. You pollute more. You have less efficiency in healthcare coverage and in school coverage. So to be efficient, we really need density. We need the cities. We cannot have houses spread like the mistakes we have in the planning a few decades ago. Now I think the government could fix that. I'm happy for that, but it's not a sustainable situation. Have house in the middle of nowhere is not. It could be not sustainable. It's not the solution.
It's not the solution. Well, I would like just to have Smil. I take the opportunity also to have a little information for our audience. Because we did a very small initiative on our, small world. Delta Light just launched the new Lighting Bible 14. There is one page inside the Bible that if you scan with your camera the QR code and you register your scanning, we are going to, plant a tree in a location in Belgium, which needs that. So I would like, to call your attention on this initiative, which is a small initiative from our side, but I think, it's through all these small initiatives that we can then start to move forward in the direction we all want. And I will ask Victor a simple question. Do you prefer to work in a house in the city or in the middle of nature? What is more, let's say, what is better for to enhance your creativity? Your creativity doesn't have to be enhanced, but just I realized I was saying something stupid while I was making the question already. But
Listen, I mean, it's a tricky question. I mean, in Dubai, it's pretty much like building, building in nature because it's so spread out, and the urban fabric is quite loose, and there's very few regulations that really limit you as an architect in terms of design, in terms of shape and size and regulations. So, on one side, it's very exciting, and the freedom to express yourself is great. But on the other side, it's as equally challenging and fulfilling for an architect, I think, to work in an urban environment where you really have to work with the context, where you have to work with the environment, where you have to work, with your neighborhood, with the regulations, with the restrictions, with the challenges that come with it. And I think every architect loves a challenge to a certain degree, and I think every project brings that with it. So I don't think I can pick and choose which one I like more. It's really, really hard to say.
where do you feel more comfortable? Both.
I think both. I think wherever I see, it's gonna be an interesting and challenging process where we're gonna create something unique, where our relationship with the investor is gonna be exciting, and we're all gonna enjoy working on a project. I don't care how big it is or what kind of a project it is. I'm up for it.
Great. And Asif, what is your most liked location? You like the city?
I think first of all, I think there's creativity in both. But if I would differentiate between the two, I think working in urban environment is more like chess, and building in the countryside is more like poetry. And you're drawing on different kinds of different elements, different kinds of emotional intelligence when you're working within the city and in the countryside. Both can give a great deal of pleasure, but I think that's the kind of difference. I don't think it's one that is better than the other. It's just a slightly different process.
I guess one is more connected with the nature, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's why it's more poetic, as you say.
Yeah.
So I will ask the same question to Mario and to hear his opinion. But you also mentioned earlier about this change in the way that planning should be done, and I would like to to ask you. You have increased number of people moving to cities, but at the same time, extreme housing shortage, which have created this flux of people in one direction or the other. So where is better to build a house nowadays?
To be honest, it's that question is related with the previous one. For myself, I prefer to do it in the countryside, but it depends in the place itself. But I normally prefer the countryside. We have developed some residential buildings in Gibraltar. Gibraltar is a UK territory in the south of Spain. It's very high density, and which have been very exciting for us. But honestly, we have in the opposite side, we have a much smaller scale house here in Portugal, in Rio Teixeira Bank, which is an amazing exercise because it's a very remote location that we have no electric supply, we have no water supply. We have to manage with a lot of problems, a lot of aspects that normally have already solved. So in that house, for example, we have to produce energy using a turbine, using the water of the river. We have to do our own sewage treatment. We have to catch the water from the river. So for me, that is a much more exciting exercise than the others big projects in a very high density areas.
Yeah, of course, it's more challenging. But is this what the client is expecting or desiring for the future, in your opinion? Back to the nature, a sort of, or back to the roots, sort of scenario?
I think so, but I'm afraid that is not sustainable. I think that we need density. We need to introduce green areas inside the cities rather than move people to the countryside. I think it's more sustainable for the community.
Victor?
I mean, there's no community if you spread them out. So, society functions only if we keep together. And I think that's why the urban environment is so important and needs to be revisited, as Mario says, and needs to be more, I'd say, humanized. But I don't think that spreading people out and moving out of the cities is the right way forward, because I don't think the society will function otherwise.
But how do you manage also to let's say have at the same time the social distancing that is required nowadays?
Listen, I think the social distancing hopefully is something temporary. I'm hoping that this is not something that's going to have to be addressed in the future as such, because this is, I think and hope, a precautionary measure. So I wouldn't want to use that term for the years to come. I think that, social life maybe is changing slightly, and the needs of people and how they want to spend their free time, how they want to work, how they want to interact together. But ultimately, I mean, we are humans, and humans need society, and we need to interact with each other, be it at work, be it at home, be it outdoors. And I think all of these things need to be addressed accordingly. I feel it's quite tough and challenging working in this environment where we really are forced to social distance, and we can't interact with each other. We can't bounce off ideas and, organically develop a design, let's say, in our office, and working on construction sites and trying to review materials on a TV screen without having it in hand. And I think the best results come when people are able to interact face to face. And right. I think that's not only related to work, but also to life. And I think that quality of interacting with each other has to stay there. We just need to make sure that that quality is heightened and elevated than it is now. Because at the moment, I don't think the residential developments are designed in a way that we, first and foremost want to socialize in them. I think, in most cases, I'm not talking about luxury development, but in most mass product developments are literally just dwellings where you sleep and cook food, and that's it. And we need to change that.
Yes. And yes, we're getting a little bit all, tired about this word social distancing. So I hope that we can get out of this pretty soon. As of Victor was mentioning about materials, evaluating materials, did you discover any new material or finishes recently that you think are really super exciting that you would like to share with our audience?
Perhaps, first of all, to respond to that question of the urban, rural, and the spreading out. I think hopefully we're heading towards a more complex scenario, one where there's the freedom to work at a distance, which opens up the market to people who can't necessarily be in an urban center because of various considerations, family, economic situation. The option of the distant work, where you don't necessarily have to come to the office every day or to wherever you're working, can be liberating. It is something that will hopefully alter the way that society works, that every morning someone gets up and gets onto a train and spends a couple of hours or 3 hours in transit and comes back and forth. There is a certain sense of liberty in that. And I think we're in a period that we need to assess that. And we're seeing, especially in the domains of high tech, that is happening, that there's going to be a different kind of a work environment. People will come together more to socialize, not just and less for work. Perhaps there'll be a shift in how the time is spent and the quality of time spent. So I think that there could be a situation that we're heading into a healthier way of living. And I think, we're in a transit position and we need to get used to it. But I think we are heading in the right place. And when you speak about materials, the question that you asked, I think when it has to, before I speak to anything about physical material, I think this Zoom is something that one has to respond to. I have this funny situation that my youngest daughter lives in a studio in New York, and she's been working at a new place for a year. She hasn't been in the office yet. And she's working from her bathroom because her boyfriend is also working from home. And in the studio, there just isn't in the room. So she has a virtual environment behind her. And she's working in this virtual environment inside her bathroom. And I think it's a certain reality that is affecting a lot of people. And so I think the whole issue of the virtual domain is going to be entering architecture in a much, much stronger way. And I think as a profession, we need to address it as a part of what we do to a great extent, not just as a modeling tool, but as an environment within itself. I think this is something that is an opportunity that the profession needs to take.
Great. And Mario, from your viewpoint, any new exciting material? And it can be something, let's say, like Asaf has been describing, not necessarily a building material, but anything new and exciting that you would bring to our attention?
Yes, to be honest, as much as materials I see, as much as my interest grows for raw materials and the way that we can do to the materials look as raw as possible. That I personally like that. And to be honest,
so you mean in terms of finishes, a little,
yes,
rough type of finishes?
Yes.
Is there one in particular that you're very fond of?
Yes, I personally I really like one kind of limestone we have here in Portugal, which is when cut is exactly like concrete, and I really like to use it because I really appreciate how to the nature make some material that we can match perfectly with the concrete, and I really like that to use that. I really like.
Only an architect would say that.
I agree with you.
And this is the beauty of organizing this webinar with architects, because this kind of comments come out unexpected, and they really give
But
a sun ray to our to our day.
but let me say, Danilo, that I think it's not sustainable keeping producing materials like mad. So I have here in my material sample room thousands of different kinds of tiles and so on, and that I feel tired only to look at all that catalogs. I'm concerned that keeping producing a lot of different types of material that will not be sustainable. That's my opinion.
Yeah, sure. We can agree with this viewpoint. Victor.
Yeah, well, I always try to stick to natural materials. So whatever it is, we always try to go back to nature, be it wood, be it stone, metals. So I really try to stick to those few natural elements and try and work either with the texture and the natural color. I haven't used tiles in quite a long time, I have to say. There's too many companies, as Marius says, that are trying to come up with new products every year, and it's a crazy cycle. And I don't think I keep track of it anymore, to be honest. So we just now, have I'd say handful of suppliers that we just continue to work with. We always try to find I'd say new natural material or a new way how to work with that natural material. See how to use it more efficiently, more economically. Now I always try to stay away from plastics, but now I'm starting to collaborate with a firm that uses ocean plastics. So they're recycling ocean plastics, and we're trying to come up with some really interesting products that are using this material, because I find it very interesting. It's 3D printed, and it's a fiber that's made out of recycled ocean plastic. And what is nice about it is that you make whatever you need. You're using a material that is taken out of the environment, the material that was extremely damaging to the environment, and you're manufacturing something with absolute zero waste, because it's 3D printed to the exact shape and size that you need it to. But I think that for me is, I'd say, one of the breakthroughs. Although, as I said, we try to really stick to those materials that are natural, that are going to age well, that can be thrown out of the window if you need to, and they're not going to cause any damage. So, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Well, we've been talking about material, and I would like to enter into a subject, of light, which is also, to some extent, if we use wisely, it's a building material itself. And so I would like to ask first to Asaf, how important is integration of light? So we talk about light as a building material. So how important integrating light in your projects, and how do you approach this from your projectual viewpoint?
Well, I would say light is almost everything. There's no shadow without light. There's no color without light. There's no space without light. So I would say that to begin with is the issue of natural light. That is more important than the view. So I think light is a critical element in terms of lighting in the context that you're discussing. I think it's one of the great ways to test a project. You really test the project through the light. And the layering of the light helps you define how the spaces work and how movement through a building happens through the use of the light. So I think it's a great, it's really, for me, it's really probably one of the most important elements. It certainly is one of the most important elements. I have had the opportunity in the last few projects to work with a lighting consultant called Rama Mendelssohn, who's really enabled me to push on that direction. I think it's really the layering and the process of not just having one light, but multiple lights that are layered and each one offering an alternative mood that can be individual or cumulative. I think it's a big part of the magic, both when we talk about artificial light and natural light.
Absolutely. And so how do you approach this? You start to look at the light from the beginning of the project, or is something that you implement at a later stage?
I don't think there is I think as architects, we all work at multiple scales at the same time. I mean, when we're doing a line, behind that line is a whole thought process at multiple scales. It's not that obviously we articulate more as we get into the larger scale, the detail, but it's there from the beginning. From the beginning, you're considering where the sunlight is coming from, what walls you want to illuminate, where will you have paintings, how are you going to bring out the richness of a material. It's something that is there from the beginning and is a part of the storytelling. But I think it's really something that, especially now with LED lighting, I think it's a huge change. It's a huge change that gives us so much more flexibility and opportunity. And at the end of the day, it's also better for the environment. So we're really at a changing point at the moment on this subject. And I think it could really be something that enriches our work.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, in our industry, LED has become really a revolution and an evolution at the same time. And I agree also on the fact that I'm glad that you work with Rama. She's a very talented lighting designer for sure. Mario, so my question then to you is the same. How do you approach lighting from your perspective in your projects, and when do you start to think about the light? And also, is design over technology or the other way around?
Yes, normally I really appreciate to be involved in the light design of my project. And when the projects are small, I really like to do it myself. When in the bigger projects, I recognize it's a very complicated issue. I need a light designer to help me. I will not try to do it myself because it's a complex issue. But yes, I really like to be involved because light can completely transform a space. But in terms of technology, I think there is a lot of room to grow. LED transformed the market. You are 100% right. But the simple idea of entering in the space and have to switch on the light, I think it's something that in a short period of time will be completely outdated. You know, there is a lot of room to grow and to improve what is very, very exciting. You know?
Technology is going fast forward for sure, and it's to some extent, yes, taking over, but not necessarily over design. So it's taking over on our way of dealing with this subject. So I look forward to the time when we can simply switch on the light with our brain waves. That's going to be really, it's going to be really interesting. So Victor, I ask you the same question. How is your let's say relation to the light? I know, and I can see also in the back, I know that the rainbow is part of your spirit of your. So
we still have to do that one. Remember?
Yeah. It's in my mind. It's my brain. That's sure.
We have to start working on that one ASAP. I just wanted to say that me and you suck at lighting. Look at our screens. My half of face is dark. You're completely dark.
Yes. I have to switch on the light here. So.
I mean, Ashley and Mario are pros here. They're putting us to shame.
I cannot even say fake and say that I've been, to the Caribbean, because this moment it's really not possible.
Listen, I mean, light is omnipresent, and is the most crucial thing. We design spaces because we live with our eyes in them, and we see light. So, the moment we start designing, we look at the weather, we look at the environment, we look at the views, we look at different kinds of spaces, need different kinds of experiences. So, lighting is really crucial in everything we do. Daylight first, of course, looking at the natural properties of the materials. Artificial light, obviously, equally so. So I think the moment we select everything that's visible to the eye, I'd say the next thing is the artificial lighting, and how to deal with it, and how to illuminate it properly and bring the life back into it. Because I think things are most beautiful when you see them with your own eyes in daylight, and I think you really want to try and bring those qualities out. And when daylight's not available, I'd say. Technology over design is hard to say no. I mean, we always have to package the technology so it looks nice, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we have to control it at least.
I'd say design over technology, or maybe not. Maybe that's a bit too cocky. It's hard, I mean, when we look at illuminating buildings from the outside, I mean, that's really a complex science. When we look at office spaces and spaces where light really is task light, and you really need to work with it, I think those are elements where we always reach out to professionals to help us out. In residential, I think it's more about the mood. It's more about the atmosphere, and it's very individual. So I think those spaces need to offer as much flexibility as possible for different kinds of, I'd say, moods and usabilities and feelings. And I think that really needs to be addressed more. I think the lighting has to become more dynamic. It needs to become more intuitive. It needs to be more than just warm white. I know we've all strived for that LED to give us that warmth and everything, but I think we need to go a step further and just introduce more life, more dynamic, more color. I think all of that could be exciting, and I think with current technology and technologies to come, I think the options are limitless.
Great, thank you so much for your contribution. And we are coming close to the end of this beautiful panel discussion, and I would like to ask to each one of you, as a wrap up, if there is any final message that you would like to share with the audience, and about what can we expect from you that we're going to see soon and that will excite us. So as a final message to the audience. And
I'm sure everyone has had a challenging year and a half or a year and a bit. From my experience, I'm older than all of you, I think. Is that what I've learned is that both life and architecture are a marathon. You just have to go up and down the hills as they come. Every 4 or 5 years, there's something that kicks us, and we just have to carry on. I just keep cool and keep going. In terms of what's coming up, I'm designing a really amazing hotel spa on Lake Como, on the waterfront, which I'm extremely excited about. Not just about the building, about how to interact with the place, with the culture. It's really very exciting. I'm enjoying it extremely.
It's one of the most beautiful spots in the world. So I'm I'm just 25 kilometers from it. So I know.
Next time I'll come. Cool, you can come and visit us.
Absolutely. We look forward to that. Thank you very much, Azov.
And thank you to everyone else as well on the panel. Yeah.
Thank you, Mario. Your message to our audience, and what can we expect from you soon?
Yes, My message is about the globalization, and I think we all are moving. We all designers are moving very fast in globalization direction. We see that in the way the information, the projects are shared in the way that we see the projects, and you have access to it. I used to say when I start as an architect, I work in a library of information. My reference were printed, were divided by designer or by artistic approach with all the elements I need to understand perfectly a project. Now, what I see, it's a different kind of way to share architecture. I think there is a lot of noise. I think instead we have in the library of information. I think we are in the nightclub of information. You know, that is the things are not
Good
organized.
way of saying that. Good way of saying that.
The things are not organized by designer, but all the information are now organized by dates only. We have in the same scroll line a school in Kenya, a skyscraper in Chicago, and then a bar in Mykonos. So everything is messy now about the information and the way the information are shared. And I think this is globalization in architecture, and we must keep concentrated to keep the cultural features in the of the place where we are designing for, and I think this is the challenge we have to face in the future as a designer.
Great. This is also a commendation to all the colleagues, architects that are listening to the audience in the audience today. And what can we expect from you in the short terms that is going to excite us?
Go ahead, Mario.
Sorry, let Mario finish. Yes.
I'm very excited with the Gibraltar market. We are developing 3 residential buildings. One of it is literally over the sea, and that is a big, a nice, very nice project and a big challenging for us. We are very excited with that project.
Great. We look forward to seeing then the conclusion and how it look like. Victor, your message to the world?
Oof, that's a tough one, Danilo. I'm not a politician.
The politicians don't have a message to the world. That's this is.
This is what's written behind me. Spending quality time with my mind. You know, let's all try to stay sane and ride this out and not lose ourselves. And as architects and as people, you know, I think individuality is really important. Staying true to ourselves and keep doing what we love. Then I can't wait to come to Asap's hotel. I mean, that's definitely high on my priority list, and Mario's nightclub in Mykonos. I'm definitely up for that as soon as humanly possible. Thank you for organizing this, Danilo. That's for sure. What's coming up? I mean, I'm working now on a beautiful residential project here in Prague on Pařížská Street in the UNESCO Heritage Zone, a new residential project that is now under construction and hopefully will be finished by end of the year. That's really been super exciting and super challenging. I mean, we've touched upon a lot of these subjects on working in this dense urban environment and all the restrictions and challenges. And this was definitely one of those tricky projects where we've worked and adjusted the design, I think, for 3 years until the authorities approved it finally. So that's really exciting. We're going to be publishing a private villa in Dubai very soon that's just been completed, and we're just starting a new residential project now again here in Prague, again in a beautiful urban environment that comes with a set of new challenges and a different municipality zone. So I look forward to that fight again. But no, I think the world's going to be a better place after this is finished. I think everyone's going to come with a new energy, with new goals, with new knowledge, and I think self-awareness that might have gone lost in these past few years. You know, be it with globalization and consumerism and the extremely fast pace of life, where we really didn't pay attention of the quality of life we were having. And I think those aspects are gonna drive, you know, design, architecture, fashion, movies, food. I think every single aspect of our life, and hopefully it's going to be a better time ahead.
Well, this is a good message, of hope for the future. We have concluded with. So I'm really thankful to you guys, to Azar, to Mario, to Victor for taking part to our panel conversation on residential projects. I just thanks also everyone who has had the patience to follow our webinar today, and I thank you all. And I remind you that the next appointment with our webinar Design the Future on the 16th of June is going to be on bar and restaurants, and of course the future of this project. So thank you very much again, and have a nice day and a good continuation of your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.